Good morning. I'm Gregory Mason. Welcome to First Presbyterian Church for Olympia Brown Unitarian Universalist Church's service. Before we start the service, we have a few announcements. Jeff, you want to go first?
Good morning, I'm Jeff Ciuta from the Facilities Task Force. If you may have already seen it, but the results for the survey, the January survey, are published now. They're in the website under the Finding Our Way Home tab. They're also in the weekly email that we get on Friday. Be advised that upcoming, you'll be getting information on the March opportunity for input, which is a series of cottage meetings. That information should be out within the next week. Thank you.
Today, beginning at 12:30, there will be an open conversation on Israel-Palestine led by the 8th Principal Committee. It will be both in person and on Zoom and run until 2:30. The Zoom link is in this morning's email under upcoming events. For those staying in person, a light lunch will be provided beginning at 12:15.
Next Sunday, most of you already know this, we will have an all-ages service downstairs in the dining room at 10 a.m. Following the service, Kevin Newton from Baird Company will explore ways to share your financial gifts with OBUUC. The next deadline for paper raised right orders is February 18th. If you need a form, see me. Tickets are available for the wine tasting, craft beer, and snacks fundraiser event on February 23rd at Uncorked. Contact Diane Lang or Dina Lieberman. Please turn in your 24-25 pledge forms at your earliest convenience. If turned in by St. Patrick's Day, you will be invited to attend a special event celebration in March. Be sure to check out our new multicultural library in Erman Hall. Join our annex cleanout crew. Reach out to our board co-president, Corey Mason, if you're interested. Thank you to our volunteers today, our ushers, Pam Smiley and Christina Mondragon, and our Zoom host, Maria Scott. There are more upcoming events on the back of your order of service. For more information and details about all of these announcements, along with others and community announcements, see your weekly emails. Please join us for coffee hour in Erman Hall following the service. For those joining us on YouTube, log into Zoom after the service for coffee hour. The link is in today's email.
Good morning. Welcome to Olympia Brown Unitarian Universalist Church. I am the Reverend Danielle Lindstrom. My pronouns are she, hers, and it is good to be together. We share these words of welcome adapted from our congregation in Boulder. in all the beauty of languages, cultures, skin tones, shapes, and sizes that come together in your uniqueness. You are welcome here. In all the ways you experience and express gender, you are welcome here. In the beauty that is who you love and how you love, you are welcome here. This is one of the promises of our faith tradition. All of who you are is welcome in our co-created and shared sacred space. It is good to be together. We will begin our service with a shared ritual, joining congregations all over the world in lighting our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. And Malcolm and Mylan, thank you, are lighting our chalice for us this morning. Our words, Only Begun, by Reverend Bill Sinkford. Spirit of life and love, dear God of all nations, we have only begun to imagine justice and mercy. Help us hold fast to our vision of what can be. May we see the hope in our history and find the courage and the voice to work for that constant rebirth of freedom and justice. That is our dream. This morning, our choir will be sharing We Resist by Mark Miller with us. In celebration of our pledge drive, we have been offering moments of gratitude where our members, our beloveds, have been sharing a little bit about their experience here at Olympia Brown, and we are so delighted to have Violet Unger come and share with us this morning.
About 10 months ago, I had an idea for a little library that would feature books that are being banned around the country in schools, libraries, and community centers. I was and still am extremely passionate about the fact that no book should be banned. That knowledge of all kind should be free to those willing to hear it. When I came to Reverend Danielle with this idea, it never seemed to be a question of yes or no, but a question of what is the next step. She supported me from the minute I went to talk to her about it. With the help of the Lakeside Kenosha Junior Youth Club, my incredible family, and the family here at Olympia Brown, we made a fully functioning library, painted, decorated, and signed by the junior youth with over $500 worth of brand new and used books to fill it up. And even after all of that tremendous support, Miss Leanne was able to provide me with design choices and created pins to further support the project. I would just like to say thank you to everybody here who donated books, bought a pin, or came to our opening ceremony. You are the reason why this project can withstand. And an extra special thank you to Reverend Danielle and Leanne for helping me out from the start. I cannot be more grateful for your support and belief in my ambitions. The Little Library is still accepting donations. A lot of the books that we started out with have been taken, so it could definitely use a refill. If you have any questions, feel free to talk to me here at church, or you can contact me at violetunger38@gmail.com. And if you need me to repeat that later, feel free to find me after the service. Thank you so much.
And now it's time for the message for all ages. So if all the children, those young in heart, can come on forward. I think I'm going to sit here today. So the story that I'm going to read to you this morning is called Fair Shares by Pippa Goodhart and Anna Doherty. And we've talked about fair and equal upstairs in RE before, so that's what this is about. Oh, a pear tree full of fruit, said Hare. I'd like to eat one of those pears. Boing, boing. Hare leapt up, but bother, said Hare. Aha, said Bear. I see lots of pears for me. I'll be able to reach them easily. But actually, she couldn't reach the pears either. Bother, said Bear. Bear, said Hare, I know how to reach the pears. How, said Bear. Well, we haven't got any steps or stairs, but we could stand on chairs. Brilliant, said Bear. I'll share them out, said Hare. One chair for me, one chair for you, Bear, another chair for me, the end. Oi, said Bear. You've got twice as many chairs as I have, said Bear. That's not fair. Oh, sorry, said Hare. Okay, we can have one chair each, and I'll leave the spare chair over there. Yes, that'll be fair, said Bear. But I still can't reach a pear. This doesn't feel fair at all, said Hare. Pick, went Bear, scrunch, munch. Delicious, said Bear. Excuse me, said a tiny voice. Who said that? Said Bear. Me, said Beetle, down below. I just thought that you should know giving everybody the same thing isn't always fair. Isn't it? Said Bear. No, said Beetle. Let me show you. Hare needs 2 chairs to reach the pears, but you, Bear, only need 1. That's true, said Hare. So is it fair for Bear to have 1 chair and for me to have 2? Wahoo! So everyone was happy until, uh-oh, said Bear. This still isn't fair. You haven't got any chairs or pears, Beetle. Would you like a pear? No, thank you, said Beetle. I don't like pears. Oh, said Hare. What do you like to eat then? Chairs. So we've talked about the difference between fair and equal, and it's really easy to understand that when you talk about one person being taller than the other. But it's important to remember that most of us think we know what's fair for other people because most of us think that our opinion is the right one. But the thing that we need to remember is to ask the other person what they need. That maybe the tall person doesn't need the same thing as the shorter person, or maybe the person that comes to the love pantry doesn't need the same thing as another person that comes to the love pantry. So we need to ask people because we don't really know what's fair for people. Okay, time for the blessing.
Together. Please join in singing our children's dedication in the order of service. There are many ways we give to the life of our congregation, and the monetary offering is just one of these ways. Each month, we partner with a local organization that is doing really great work in our community, and we share the money that we gather. Our partner for February is the Healthcare Network of Racine County, which is a free clinic offering medical, dental, and social services here in Racine. There are many different ways to give. That information is on the back of your order of service. If you have your pledge card, you can also put that right on in the offering plate. We are ready for those too. Thank you for all of the ways that you give. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Part of being in community is sharing our lives with one another, sharing our joys, sharing our concerns, sharing our sorrows, all of the different pieces that come together throughout our week. In just a moment, I will begin in a prayer meditation, and you will be invited forward to light a candle or to share your joy or sorrow out loud, with a gentle reminder that we are streaming to YouTube with our sharing. If you'll join me first in the spirit of prayer, the spirit of meditation, these words, one love, coming to us from Hope Johnson. We are one, a diverse group of profoundly kindred spirits, here not by coincidence, but because we choose to journey together. We are active and proactive. We care deeply. We live our love the best we can. We are one, working, eating, laughing, playing, singing, storytelling, sharing, and rejoicing, getting to know each other, taking risks, opening up, questioning, seeking, searching, trying to understand, struggling, making mistakes, paying attention, asking questions, listening, living our answers, learning to love our neighbors, learning to love ourselves, apologizing and forgiving with humility, being forgiven through grace, creating the beloved community together. We are one. In honor of this creation, I invite you forward to light a candle in honor of the joys, concerns, and sorrows that are on your heart this morning. Or if you would like to share out loud, you're welcome to come to the pulpit or raise your hand. We will bring the microphone to you. We'll begin this time for sharing.
My joy is for Frank Edgerton and his 88th birthday and how you all sang to him. That really made his day, and how you played Happy Birthday. And his other joy is that Danielle served at the Racing Interfaith Coalition breakfast yesterday. Thank you.
I'm Andy LaMartina, and I just want to say after 38 years working for Racine Unified School District, I have retired as of January 5th. And I just want to say I was given the most beautiful retirement party with some old coworkers on Friday. It was so amazing to see some people I haven't seen in years and just to feel loved and warm, and it was really wonderful. I want to be thankful for that.
We will light our final candle for the joys, concerns, and sorrows that are on the hearts of our beloveds joining us online this morning. Will you join me now in a moment of shared quiet? Just a moment to pray, to meditate, to listen to the breathing of those around us, or to dream. Amen and blessed be. Will you join me in singing our prayer meditation response, There is a Love, the words in the order of service. Our reading this morning comes from the book Mental Flight by Ben Okri. Our future is greater than our past. So far, we have mostly misapplied the powers of the mind. We have underapplied the wonders of the human soul. The mind that created pyramids, warfare, great art, science, has not yet reached maturity. Everything we have done till now merely suggests the power of the human mind in its infancy. We are not defined by our failures, and rivers have changed their courses. There are revolutions in the heavens, among the stars, all the time. New worlds are constantly being born. What we call civilization is only 10 years old in the mind of a Palmer oak, and a minute old to a distant star. Tradition doesn't have to weigh us down. We weigh ourselves down with tradition, with the past, with past failures, past forms, past perceptions. We've made these things, and we can unmake them. Every now and again, the earth breaks its crust, and molten liquid and its depths spews out, turns to rocks, and forms new islands. The mind of humanity is such a force. New worlds wait to be created by free minds that can dream unfettered, without fear, turning obstacles into milestones towards the luminous glories. The new age is such a time for such new births. We can all re-dream the world, our lives, but the conception must begin now. The birth must begin now. We ought to consecrate ourselves to clearing the dead wood and still thinking beyond perceptions. We should begin to think anew, to prepare ourselves for a new air, for a fuller future. The preparation would be rewarding. Forward, each one of us saviors and co-makers of the world we live in. But we should begin now, here, among one another, and in solitude.
Resilience, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, make a new plan, stand up again and say, yes, we can. Resilience, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, make a new plan, stand up again and say, yes, we can. Resilience, oh, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, make a new plan, stand up again and say, yes, we can. Resilience, oh, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, make a new plan, stand up again and say, yes, we can. Resilience, oh, we are strong, shoulder to shoulder, keep moving on. Resilience, make a new plan, stand up again and say, yes, we can. Resilience.
I learned the other morning, thanks to a Facebook memory, that this past Friday, it has been exactly 10 years since I preached my very first sermon. 10 years, February 9th, 2014. I was told that after I preached that sermon, I would know whether ministry was right for me or not. And Reverend Colleen Squires was right. I felt so at home and inspired by the church that I started seminary in Boston 7 months later. With some gratitude to my tendency to completely ignore my personal email inbox, I was actually able to find that sermon and was very tempted to just read it this morning. Didn't. I was able to find that sermon, and it was about small acts of kindness, right? And how these small acts of kindness can inspire us to connect with one another, to make each person's day a little bit better, and that these small acts can change the world. It was sweet. That's the best way to describe it. It was sweet and filled with optimism and hope and exactly what that first sermon should be. And in that, I told a story that actually is from an undergraduate mythology class. There was a speaker named Kurt Toffland. He was the substitute teacher one day. Kurt Toffland was the founder of Shakespeare Behind Bars, whose philosophy is that all citizens, incarcerated or not, have an authentic voice, and that is their strength. This voice can find renewed relationships to self and society through art and theater and original writing. His passion for theater and for the people he had the honor to work with and direct was inspiring. He told stories of people encountering a part of themselves through these plays and being able to write and express their experiences, their pasts, in really healing ways. As the class ended and we all started packing up our backpacks and heading out the door, as we were leaving, he yelled, "Go forth, change the world." In that sermon, I unpacked my own ideas of what would it take to really change the world on a massive scale, right? What would it take? And I ended with an encouragement to do what we can, when we can, for each other, and that these little things were really what it's all about. I still remember his enthusiasm. It actually still gives me goosebumps to think about him, and I did write him and thank him for his inspiration, and his program has just continued to grow in 3 states. I'm still inspired by his sense of purpose and joy and creativity, right? Can we change the world? As Unitarian Universalists, in our principles and our values, we seem awfully sure that it is our role to change the world as we understand it. Right? We have been talking about a liberating love. And through this liberating love, or this liberating love in action through values, we've spent a lot of time unpacking what does liberating love look like. And this morning, we're focusing on the values that come from that love, equity and justice. Equity, which Leanne offered an example of in our message for all ages, we declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, and attention and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. And justice, we work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions within our congregations, association, and society at large. If justice and equity as described here, right, our values, our commitments, it sure sounds like we plan on changing the world. We know that systemic oppression is part of the design of our communities. We understand that the model of scarcity, of not having enough or protecting what's yours at all costs, that this is the foundation of much of American society. And from our reading, we've made these things. We've made these things, and we can unmake them. And it is going to take imagination. Imagination is powerful, and it has been misused in so many ways and places. And I would like to share a reading, this reading from activist and team member of Black Organizing for Leadership and Dignity, and author Adrienne Maree Brown. who I have been studying. So if you're hearing that name a lot, please do talk to me more about her. Her work is incredible. And so I've been studying her work. This is a reading from her book, Emergent Strategy, right? We embody, we learn, we release the idea of failure because it's all data, but first we imagine. Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown and Renisha McBride and so many others are dead because in some white imagination, they were dangerous. And the imagination is so respected that those who kill based on an imagined, racialized fear of Black people are rarely held accountable. Imagination has people thinking they can go from being poor to a millionaire as part of a shared American dream. Imagination, she writes, turns brown bombers into terrorists and white bombers into mentally ill victims. Imagination gives us borders, gives us superiority, gives us race as an indicator of capability. She continues, I often feel I am trapped inside someone else's imagination, and I must engage my own imagination in order to break free. All of this imagining in the poverty of our current systems is heightened because of scarcity economics. There isn't enough, so we need to hoard, enclose, divide, fence up, and prioritize resources and people. We have to imagine beyond those fears, she writes. We have to imagine and conceive together. We must imagine new worlds that transition ideologies and norms so that no one sees Black people as murderers or brown people as terrorists or aliens, but all of us as potential cultural and economic endeavors. This is a time travel exercise for the heart. This is collaborative ideation. What are the ideas that will liberate all of us? The more people that collaborate on that ideation, the more that people will be served by the resulting world. So ends this reading. We've made these things, and we can unmake them in order to do the work behind the declaration that every person has the right to flourish with inherent worth and dignity, inherent worthiness, to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities, to commit to working to build diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive, to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We have to imagine it's possible, right? And even more powerful, we have to imagine, what could that look like? What would that feel like? And do the work to make it so. From an interview with Ezra Klein, sociologist Matthew Desmond mentions a quote that his wife sent him. It went something like, if you want folks to build a ship, you don't assemble a team on the shore, and you don't gather the wood. You make them long for the end of the sea. You make them long for the end of the sea. Imagine what's possible. It's personal and it's communal. Author Richard Gilbert writes that social change today requires the mobilization of individual energies into communal power. So where does this spirit of individual energy come from? I would suggest that it comes from our understanding of how we are connected to the world around us. How are we connected to one another. And I just came across what is now my favorite example of our deep interconnectedness. Environmentalist, ecologist, and forest activist John Seed, right? He's describing the first time he felt his awakening to the earth. In 1979, he was part of a direct action effort in New South Wales with hundreds of other hippies, as he describes it. Hundreds of other hippies, they sang songs and they laid down in front of bulldozers. People were arrested. He describes his experience. He writes, "I was no longer John Seed protecting the rainforest. I was the rainforest protecting herself through this little piece of humanity. I was no longer John Seed protecting the rainforest. I was the rainforest protecting herself through this little piece of humanity." This quote and this story I came across while reading the book Church of the Wild by Victoria Lours. And it's my favorite description of our commitment, this value of interdependence, that we are of the world, not merely in it, that we are connected and have a responsibility and a joy to take care of our place in it through our own little piece of humanity. She offers what I am sure many of us have heard before, that the earth doesn't need us. The earth, in fact, would be fine without humanity. Perhaps we've heard this idea before. She responds, "But we are part of the earth, and our stubborn attempts to disconnect have led to an unraveling that affects not just the parts, species extinction, habitat destruction, wars, oppression, but affects the whole. There must be an essential role that humans play in the whole system's healing as well. We are part of this larger story, this larger web, inhabiting for a time a piece of humanity, one human piece in this much larger, much more complicated, often unclear picture. When we talk about our values, our relationships, our dreams, our goals, we are talking about what we do with, how we share, how we use this little piece of humanity while we have it. So with our individual understanding of our place in this interdependence, of our individual understandings of connection to that which is holy, our connection to that which is larger than ourselves, however we each know and understand it, how do we turn then to collective power for change? And again, that is going to take imagination. From our reading, new worlds wait to be created by free minds that can dream unfettered without fear. Returning to sociologist Matthew Desmond for a moment, he wrote the book Poverty by America, which ultimately demands poverty abolition. He explains that poverty is a policy choice and that we allow it to happen. During the 2020-2021 COVID years, he explains that we saw a glimpse of what's possible, right? Through the expanded child care tax credit program, the rental housing assistance that came after the eviction moratorium, he explains this was the biggest investment the federal government has ever made for renting families. Dean Spade, in his book Mutual Aid, offers a similar idea that during COVID, it seemed that so much that many of our social justice organizations have been fighting for became possible, right? Again, naming these eviction moratoriums, increased unemployment benefits and income support, free public transit, suspension of student loan payments, and more. It demonstrated that though these were still imperfect, They were possible. In the Poverty Research and Policy podcast, Professor Amy Castro shares their research on guaranteed basic income and its effects on poverty. So guaranteed basic income is different than universal income. Guaranteed basic income is not enough money to cover needs, but it's a fixed amount of recurring money every month. So for this study that just finished up in 2023, 125 people were given $500 a month for 2 years. Right? From their results, this question, can guaranteed income disrupt income volatility? And this was a key question that they asked again and again of participants. Can you pay for an unexpected emergency with $400 cash? This was one of their questions. Can you pay for this unexpected emergency with $400 cash? At the beginning, only 25% of the participants said they could. After 1 year, 52% of the participants said they could. They asked, how does this impact health and well-being at the beginning of the study? All of the participants met the clinical piece of being diagnosed with depression. They met that clinical piece, and after 1 year, all reported improved emotional health, well-being, energy. At the beginning, 28% were fully employed, and after the first year, 40% were fully employed, which they didn't see happening in their control group. This cash removed barriers to seeking unemployment. The cost of transportation, it offset all of these pieces that were preventing them from the level of employment that they were looking for. And what's really interesting and important in this study is that they didn't study how people were using the money. That wasn't part of it, right? That wasn't the goal. They were interested in how spending the money impacts people's lives, health, and well-being. They trusted people to use the money as they saw fit. And the evidence of that was remarkable. And the challenging and eye-opening pieces of the study were calculations people had to do. In our current benefit system, $1 in is $1 lost in benefits often. So for folks who wanted to participate in the process, they realized that that $500 a month would put them at risk for losing health insurance or their housing voucher, so they couldn't participate. Professor Castro explains that our safety net is punitive, right? Our safety net is harming people. We've made these things, and we can unmake them. This is just one example of a different way to organize support structures, right, that actually support people in their right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. And there are so many examples of mutual aid projects where people are building community support structures outside of these punitive safety nets, right? We've talked a little bit about Expo here, ex-incarcerated people organizing, and they're working on transformative justice models rather than a punitive system. Right? These transformative justice models, keeping people in community with the people they are accountable to. We have made these things. We can unmake them. Our reading, we should begin to think anew, to prepare ourselves for a new era, a fuller future. The preparation will be rewarding, for we are each co-creators of the world we live in. But we should begin here, among one another. In the UU World magazine, author Kenny Wiley offers this quote: in February, Black History Month, right, can be a recitation of forgettable facts. That's one way to talk about Black History Month, right? A recitation of facts, or it can be the beginning or continuation of a period of unlearning and reclaiming. A period of unlearning narratives and fears that have served to divide and keep down, and be part of this reimagining what's possible for each other, for our world, for our collective healing, our collective liberation. Turning back to Adrienne Marie Brown once more, how can we, future ancestors, for that's what we all are, how can we, future ancestors, align ourselves with the most resilient practices of emergence as a species? We should begin to think anew, as Leanne shared, to listen deeply, imagine possibility. We made these things. It's our responsibility to unmake them. Imagine possibility. Go forth, change the world. Amen and blessed be. I invite you now to take a big deep breath with me and shake it off a little bit. And rise in body and spirit. Join in singing the African American Spiritual, number 169 in our gray hymn book, We Shall Overcome. We extinguish our chalice. And hold on to the light shared in this community, the light that lives in each of us, reminding us that we are connected, held always in a larger love. Go forth knowing and rejoicing that we are of the world. Go forth knowing that we've made these things and we can unmake them. Go forth imagining what's possible. Our worship is over. Our service begins. Go forth, change the world.